Hello, everyone. This is Denise Wilbanks, and with me, I have the pleasure of introducing Lynn Benton. How are you, Lynn?
I'm good, Denise. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you for asking. I had the pleasure of having a session with Lynn. Lynn is a practitioner in the quantum healing technique, which was originated by Dolores Cannon. And it was a really interesting, it was a very soothing experience and something really unusual. I'd like to let you experience or experience through our talk what it would be like if you were to do one. But before we go into any of that, I'd like to let Lynn talk a little bit about how she got into this practice. And you get to meet her. She's a wonderful, caring practitioner. Tell us a little bit about you, Lynn.
Thank you, Denise. That was a nice introduction. I actually started practicing quantum healing hypnosis about 2.5 years ago. I had owned a floral design shop here in Austin, Texas. And I had always wanted, one of my other passions was to go back into a counseling career, but I just could not swing it financially, going back to college and managing the store. So when I happened to read about Dolores Cannon's technique, I didn't even know that she taught this. I thought this was just something that she did. But then when I read that she actually taught this all over the world, I said, oh my gosh, sign me up. It was really a new opening for me to feel like I could use my counseling talents and bring it forth in a new way without applying 4 years of school and also all the financial means for that. So this was a great way for me to bring forth counseling and healing to others.
What was the main thing about this particular protocol that had sort of your name written all over it? Tell us a little bit about what was so exciting about it that tugged at your heart.
It was the fact that an incredible amount of healing can be brought forth for the client, emotionally and physically. And the fact that this type of healing can actually bring forth spontaneous healing of emotional states and physical situations as well. It was something that I would always hope would be possible. And when I read it, it just resonated with me, and I felt in my heart that this was possible. This was someone who was speaking from her heart, and that she had seen it and had created this technique. She had so much love and caring for others that she had actually gone forward and created this technique. So being a very practical person, but also a very spiritual person, I had to go and see in person to see whether or not this really was real.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of spirituality involved in this. This is not just your typical hypnosis, and it involves also some degree of regression, life regression. So you want to talk a little bit about how that all kind of works?
Sure. Quantum healing hypnosis is a new avenue of thought to help the client actually discover the power of the mind within by using their own healing power that you actually apply through thought and through discovering your connection to something so much greater than your mind. I think presently most people can accept the concept that we are connected to all that is. And still others are going to have to open their awareness to the fact that science is creating or finding out new technologies daily. New frontiers are being opened daily to the way in which the mind connects within. So I really feel like quantum healing hypnosis is going to be one of these future modalities.
Oh, absolutely. I see that. And you've been doing this for a period of what length of time?
About 2.5 years now.
2.5 years. How does the process fit into your personality? I mean, how do you like it? What do you get out of it as an individual? Tell us a little bit about how that works back and forth.
It's very exciting to meet people that are coming to you for all different types of situations. It varies greatly. Sometimes people come actually with emotional problems. Other times they come with situations and origins of things in their lives, like relationships that aren't working out. They start having the same thing appear over and over in their life, and they're like, I just can't seem to move past this. I can't seem to get what I want. So they come for all different reasons. Some come for physical healing. So I never know what it is that they're coming to see me for actually until they get there. But the fact is that when I help them understand that how powerful the mind is, that the mind is powerful enough to make you sick. It is certainly more powerful to make you well. And I try to help people understand that. And also they get to understand that this is a connection to something greater than their mind. And so if they can open their belief system to just allow this to go forward, then marvelous, incredible things start happening. And things start to come out that they didn't even realize are the basis of the origin of the situation. They didn't even know how to fix it or how to help heal it. And so they happen to have this information given to them when they're in the session, enabling them to go forward, to letting go of things that they've held on for years, to being able to offer forgiveness, all different types of healing emotionally and physically.
You said something there that I think it's probably key, and perhaps we should delve a little bit deeper into, and that was the notion of if they can expand on their belief system. So tell us a little bit about why is it required that perhaps not required, but why is it advisable that they can expand their thinking and sort of let go of some of their patterns of behavior? How does that affect the healing process?
Well, when they come to see me, as a lot of people, we use, and I'll even say myself, as using control to help us maneuver through life. And sometimes that's a security blanket for us. We all can use control in different ways. And so when I sit down and I start speaking to them, a lot of times, I'm helping them in the process to relax, to trust me as a practitioner so they can sort of let their guard down. And then I can sort of start to see where they are controlling. Some people control others. Some people want to be very controlled themselves. Some people want to try to control the situation, the hypnosis session. So if they can let go of that control and just sort of release and trust their higher guidance and the higher part of their consciousness, of their mind, that they're always safe and protected, they can sort of let go and find out some incredible answers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So basically what I hear you saying is that the not allowing or the controlling just inhibits the mind from expanding and from really attaining or receiving as much as they could otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes I have to give them homework.
Yeah.
And work on some of these things, and they're like, okay, it's sort of it's humbling to have to say, okay, I guess this is me, but it's for their highest good, and they graciously and come back, and most all that do the homework do succeed.
So what are some of the healing things that are possible?
The types of healing that people can see and that I have seen in my practice, some of the physical healing that's been brought forth is, I've had a diabetic woman come to see me for the diabetes. She had a diabetic pump inserted into her abdomen. We tested her sugar before she laid down, and then we tested the sugar immediately after her session, where healing was brought forth for the diabetes, and the sugar, the glucose was cut in half.
Wow.
And the higher guidance said that they would continue to work on decreasing the sugar levels. And within 3 days, the sugar was normal. And then the pump was actually able to be removed shortly after that. And she's no longer taking any medication for diabetes.
Wow.
So that was one of the physical healings. I've also had a remarkable physical healing with someone that fell off a roller coaster and was experiencing back pain for 20 years. And nothing could seem to accomplish this discomfort, taking it away. So through this session, that actually was able to be removed and has not returned. I've also had a client that had a skin rash on the body for 10 years, and no amount of medication was taking this rash away. And after the session, the 2 to 3 weeks after the session, the skin completely healed and looked like new baby skin, and then completely was gone. So there's been all kinds of physical healings, but there's been a lot of emotional healings as well. Stress can cause a great deal of situations of illness within the body, and able to have some of that discovery of what the emotions are doing to the body that are actually helping create the illness, to remove the origins of what's causing the stress, whether it be something very personal and emotional. There's all different reasons for that. A lot of fears can be released and healed, so that you don't go forward with those life-limiting type situations. Also, grief and depression can be healed. I see a lot of people with anxiety and depression who are able to get off medication through this process as well.
And is when you're saying the process, are you referring to there are more than one session required, or usually one session does the trick, or how does that normally take place?
Usually it's just one session. There's enough information that comes out. It is a 2-hour session. It's going to seem like 15 minutes while you're lying there, but it is a 2-hour session, which is quite long. There's a lot of information that is given to be applied to the healing, and so only one should be required. You should not have to come back for a second.
Yeah. Now, when you say the 2-hour session, that's just the period of time when you're under the hypnosis. Now, I know that as a practitioner, you took a tremendous amount of time with me prior to the session. So let's cover that a little bit so you can talk about the steps that you did to get someone nice and comfortable and to trust you, to turn themselves over to you with ease. Can you say something about that?
Yes. When they first come, it's very important for me to gain their trust and to see that I am very sincere and authentic about wanting their highest good. And they have to realize that when they come to see me, I hold no judgment for what they're about to tell me, and it is completely confidential. I want their highest healing. I see them as already perfected, whole and healthy, so I don't see them as the way they project themselves to me. I see them for a period of 3 to 5 hours, like I saw you.
Yeah.
In the beginning, we discuss about how the hypnosis works and what they can expect, so that the time they lay down, that they're very comfortable and relaxed. And then we go into, I ask them to share with me about their life, especially in the way it pertains to the questions that they've brought with themselves, so that they bring 10 to 30 questions to see me with, that I ask their higher guidance or ask the highest part of their consciousness while they're in trance. So I ask them to share with me about their life, what they think is important for me to know. so that I can expand on these questions when I know how they fit into the client's life. And then we take a short snack break, and then the hypnosis starts, and the hypnosis is 2 hours. So it's a lengthy process, but when they wake up, they're relaxed and refreshed, and they're ready to go.
One of the things as we were getting prepared that I found most fascinating, it was that even long before I got to the session, there was some relaxation being applied to me on a spiritual level. So you're very powerful in suggesting this spiritually. So tell us a little bit about how you managed to induce that.
Yes, that had really nothing to do with me, but it is upon my request. Occasionally, I will ask the higher guidance to give the client a spiritual tranquilizer if they so accept. Nothing is done without the permission of the acceptance of the higher guidance of the client. Some clients, they arrive and they want to do very well. They're under a little bit of pressure, self-pressure to perform or to get it right the first time. I tell them there is no getting it right. There's no trying. All they have to do is lie there like a blob and sort of surrender their thoughts and just relax. It's sort of like a spa day. But I ask occasionally when the client is overwrought or so overexcited that they can't calm down. So I will ask for that.
Yeah, and in my case, it certainly was very helpful because, having had some experiences of my own through meditation of past lives, I was entirely excited about getting some sort of confirmation. So I appreciated that you put that in play. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the questions? Do you see some repeating patterns? What are people curious about?
Most people come to see me and their number one question is, what is my purpose? What is my purpose in this life? What did I come here to accomplish? What are the lessons that I'm supposed to be learning? All different types of questions. Why was I born into a family where I feel like I'm completely an outsider? I don't even feel like I fit with these people. How did this happen? Well, just all kinds of questions. I think mostly people want some direction. They want to be able to clarify where they're going. What is, they want to have some kind of means. They want to give something back to others and to all and to society as well. So they always asking, finding ways to better themselves.
When you say want to give back, do you see that as a spiritual necessity that we encounter a time in the life where we just want to kind of contribute? You see a lot of pattern on that?
What I do see is people are starting to feel more and more disconnected from the world that we live in. Yeah. It's not their true heart purpose, and they're realizing this. They feel sadness. They want to be kinder, more compassionate to each other. They're looking for ways actually to do that, to not feel so out of control when big government or just government in general is controlling everything. People are disconnected and they want to, they don't like the way in which the world is headed. They want more love. They want more kindness and compassion towards their fellow man. So it's important. They feel like this is a way in which individually they can give back.
Mm-hmm. By just getting reacquainted with their own true nature.
Yes, and discovering their authentic self once again, to being reconnected within and being able to see what's most important, which is connecting with others in a loving way.
Right. So what would you say to someone who is considering this as their as a form of exploration, how can you guide them in making the decision if they're on the fence?
Okay, that's a good question, Denise. Now that quantum physics is sort of, it has opened the door for new thought processes to surrounding to what is possible. So it sort of opens the door for mainstream medicine to allow and apply these areas of thought. So, what once seemed strange is now being more accepted. At one time, what yoga and meditation was thought of as hokey, but now it's accepted in mainstream medicine. So I would say that, people should use an open mind, and, a lot of clients are searching for alternative areas of healing. And so this is one of the new modalities, I would say, of the future. I feel that this is a new modality of the future. And it's also, a time when people are looking for healing from something other than drugs, excuse me, or therapies that are creating more illness within the body.
Absolutely.
This approach always carries progression forward. It's does nothing to do with regression in the physical. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't. You're not ingesting foreign substances that are actually causing illness, further illness, or harm. So that is some of the reasons why somebody might want to go forward and try to choose one of these alternative therapies. And also, it's non-invasive. What I really wish mainstream medicine to know is that this is a very valuable tool to be used to support current modalities. Mm-hmm. So people can look at it this way. This is sort of something in addition they can use to what they're currently using now.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the protocol itself.
Yes.
Because what I understand from viewing a number of videos where Dolores Cannon speaks about her techniques versus some other hypnosis techniques were crucial. So do you want to talk about how this is any different than some of the other hypnosis practices?
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good question, because I have a lot of people ask me that. Mm-hmm. This is quite different than clinical hypnosis in regards to when the client comes to see me. They're actually going to see a scene, and I don't choose this scene. Actually, the higher part of the mind chooses this scene to show you, where there's a lesson to be applied to what is happening in your life right now. In regular clinical hypnosis, the practitioner chooses the scene to take the client back to maybe go back to a trauma or go back to some area that they feel needs to be healed. They choose the scene. So this way, in quantum healing hypnosis, the client's higher self's actually in control and chooses the scene. The practitioner, I do not choose the scene. So that is the number one difference. And then in clinical hypnosis, the practitioner actually interprets the results of what that client sees. I don't do any personal interpreting of what the client sees in quantum healing hypnosis. The higher self does the interpretation afterwards, and it comes through in discussion and tells why it has shown that scene. So those are two of the very big, crucial differences.
From an outsider being in the hypnosis process itself, it was fascinating to see what was brought forth by the higher mind, or higher self as you refer to it. And then when you applied the question, which I recall you asking was, and what was the purpose for which you brought this specific scene? Can you explain? And And that was fascinating how you asked what was the lesson learned. And then from that point on, I was taken to yet another scene that kind of tied the two together in full understanding. So I was able to walk away with a full sense of understanding, which was remarkable. So as an experiencer, I will tell you that you will not only attain answers, tangible, physical, visceral answers. But the interesting thing is that those answers continue to permeate on a cellular level even 2 and 3 days after. So that was quite incredible, Lynn. Do other people experience it to that extent?
Yes. As a matter of fact, almost those physical scenes that you see, like little movies, like little dreams, are very powerful. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they will be past lives. That's where the regression part of it comes in. Other times, I hesitate to call it a regression because sometimes you will go to a scene in this life. Mm-hmm. And it's always very powerful. A lot of times it's scenes that we forget, little moments that create large thoughts or large emotions that we store away that can cause situations to come about later in life. And then to hear actually how they correlate to what is happening to you right now is really quite revealing. It is a very life-changing experience like you had. And then also, sometimes you'll actually see symbols too as well. They will show you symbols that are not just dreams or dream-like states, things that apply to what is happening to you right now. And that can stick with you long afterwards. And then also that connection sticks with you even a couple days after you left and you may be speaking. Maybe that's what you're referring to as well. That opening of energy in the mind is very apparent still for about 2 or 3 days afterwards, and then it starts to close.
What do you mean by symbols, Lynn? Can you think of one particular example that might be useful as a reference?
Sure. I had a client that actually saw herself as a young child paddling in a kayak down a river. And she saw herself get wedged between 2 rocks. And the reason she had brought the kayak out was so that she could prove to herself that she was strong and that she didn't need anybody's help. Well, when she got out into the kayak, she so thinking about what her purpose was here in thought that she forgot to bring food. She forgot to bring water with her on the kayak. And then next thing you know, here she was stuck between 2 rocks and way out in the middle of the wilderness and couldn't go forward, couldn't go back, couldn't get out, couldn't get help. So there was a lesson to be applied to what is happening now, but the higher guidance came in and said, no, that was not an actual life. We were actually giving her a symbol of where she is now, that she's stuck in her present situation.
That's very powerful. Mm-hmm. She's able to see it on multiple levels and feel it. Mm-hmm. So when people are done with their healing, what can they expect aside from feeling relaxed immediately after the session?
It's funny you ask that because some people wake up and they just have to sit there a moment, and they're actually if you've ever seen that commercial where the man's listening to the music and his hair's blown out like this, he's sitting on the end of the bed waking up and going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this? So it's an incredible amount of information. And, once they get over the awakening of it, so to speak, or the awareness of it, then they're like, oh my gosh, I need some help integrating this into my life. So I never send them out the door with just saying goodbye. It's always, call me after you listen to the recording. And it's very powerful to listen to that recording the first time and hear that higher guidance speaking through you. It's your voice, but you can tell by the authoritative tone, the intelligence, and the kindness and the love. You're only greeted with complete kindness and compassion and love. But it can be a little overwhelming the first time you listen to that recording. So I'm always here to help guide them further after that.
The recording was definitely helpful, and I wonder if other practitioners even do that. But having heard it, it was really powerful. In particular, hearing a contrast of voice. In other words, when I was narrating scene from a regression, I was one voice, but then when the questions were being asked to my higher self to provide insight and to provide relief of pain or release of or healing, it was a whole much deeper and wiser sounding voice. So that was a contrast. Do people comment about that with you?
Yes. Yeah, sometimes people at first are like, "Oh, well, who is that?" It's you. It's just the highest part of your mind, and you'll laugh at this, but occasionally I'll even have my own personal session, and I wake up and I listen to the recording, and I'm like, "What does that word mean?" I have to get out the dictionary and look up the word, because that's not from this current mind. It's from the higher mind. I don't even know what that word meant.
Okay.
So yes, it's quite interesting to hear the voice, and then also to hear the intelligence as well.
Yeah. Now, I also know that you work with children. Can you go a little bit on how, if at all, is it any different treating children and doing the protocol applied to a child?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that. Working with the children is something that's very dear to my heart, and it's something that is sort of a personal nature that I've taken on. Dolores had taught us, I studied directly under Dolores' supervision, that this technique is too involved of a process for children to understand. And so what she had taught us is that we can work through the parents to connect to the children. And the way that is done is it's called using a surrogate. And you ask the mother or father to come in and be the surrogate, and they are the client that lies down. And the client's higher self, the parent's higher self, is always connected to the children's higher self. So in that regard, once I have the client under the hypnosis, we actually ask the parent's higher self to talk to the child's higher self to see what is really going on for the child, as far as emotional states and physical healing that might need to be brought about. I think the youngest person that I've ever regressed a child was 14 years of age, who was very, very mature and had a good understanding of these types of concepts. That healing that took place was remarkable as well. And I'm not able to share that part of it with you for confidential reasons. But
what are some of the reasons that you would, or that a parent would need to or request to offer assistance to a child? What are some of the conditions that children are encountering at this point?
That's a good question. A lot of different reasons. Some of the children have physical ailments that have not been able to be healed through traditional medicine. And a lot of times I see them, they're at their last ditch effort. And so they're willing to have an open mind. Okay, maybe this is possible. Well, it is able to bring actually healing through the body of the parent to the child. And I know this is going to be hard for some to accept, but I've actually seen it, and I've had cases where that has been able to bring forth physical healing for the child. There's been situations where the child has certain fears. They have been able to be released. There's actually a child that I'm working with right now with autism, and that has been going very well. There's situations where the children actually have special gifts that I would call those gifts from God, psychic gifts, that they're very comfortable in using, which is causing a certain amount of anxiety and the parents are not finding help anywhere else, so I'm able to ask the parent's higher self for guidance on how the children can work more easily into those gifts using them here at this time.
Well, that's fantastic. At least there is some sense of accomplishment, or not so much accomplishment, but a sense that you're able to help another soul go along without being intrusive, without being invasive. Is there any other questions that that I perhaps might have not addressed that you believe any particular point that would be of value for someone listening to hear?
I think one of the most important things for people to realize is quantum healing hypnosis is being accepted and practiced throughout the world as one of the new modalities on the frontier of science for thought and exploration of the mind-body connection in the way it's being used to promote healing within the body, physically and both emotionally. So this is a very important aspect of this type of work.
Are there any particular countries that are embracing this practice any more than others, or you see this as being fairly, you know, even in the United States, it's become the thing?
Well, you know, it's really grown in such a great capacity. I belong to a worldwide forum of quantum healing hypnosis practitioners. And this forum is now, not only is it in English, but is now been expanded to Chinese and to Spanish. So it really has, and there's talk of expanding it even further. I know that it's being practiced in the far reaches of the world, Russia, and throughout Europe. And so, and even in some of the smallest places, Bulgaria, I think, was one of them. And so it really is throughout the whole world right now.
So Miss Cannon did get around.
You get around, and there isn't anywhere that you can't find a practitioner.
That's true. Well, it just proves that the protocol really is effective, and it's just moving along.
Yes, yes, I like people to know that, so they know that no matter where they live, there's someone available to them. And then it's the idea of it too, is spreading and gaining confidence, that see that it's really an effective tool that works.
Fantastic.
Have an open mind to this type of procedure. You don't know what you don't know, is the saying goes.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised. This is an extremely powerful technique. And this, like I said, I really feel this going forward is going to be one of the new modalities of the future. People are, mindset is changing all the time about the way in which, you know, we connect within to that mind-body connection. And science is seeing daily new discoveries. So have an open mind to using this for all different types of healings, emotional and physical.
And if people want to get in touch with you, Lynn, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can call me personally on my phone, or they can visit my website where my phone number is listed. My website, am I able to give it to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Is www.quantumhealinghypnosis-houston.com. And I do see appointments Monday through Sunday. A lot of people work, so I do see clients on Saturday and Sunday as well.
And you also have a practice in Austin, is that correct?
I do. I have a practice in Austin and in Houston, and so that I can come and see them wherever that they choose. But I do have an office that I like to use the office because it's quieter than the whole environment, and people can sort of relax and let go. They don't have those other distractions they have.
Right. And so we will have that website listed on the link that is here below.
Thank you.
And we will be doing a Huffington Post write-up. So people, please look for Lynn on the Huffington Post, and hopefully you've had questions that you never knew you thought you'd have about quantum healing and hypnosis and all these regression things. We've addressed them all. Is there anything else that you'd like to say in closing, Lynn? Or
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me, Denise.
it's been a
And
pleasure.
when they do go to the website, they will see it explained in a lot more length. So if they have questions, they can also email me through there or call me. I'm always open to discussing things further. I want them to feel really comfortable by the time they come to see me and by the time they're ready for the hypnosis.
Yeah, and that was certainly something appreciated, going back and forth a little bit. Well, how many questions and
Sure.
how in depth? And so, yes, that was very reassuring to have you really, hold my hand. And I believe that people will appreciate that. So thank you for joining me. It's been lovely chatting with you again. And I hope that this has been of value to those listening.
My pleasure, Denise. Thank you for having me.